Hey there, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I am your host, John McDavitt, and this is the place where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. And art can be and should be fun almost all the time. Even if you're working and earning, right? A job is a job from time to time, but man, working as an artist certainly should not be digging ditches 24/7, right? There should be fun and playfulness in it. And I'm standing in front of a mural right now that I created with and for, at the time, my very young son. And it is populated by Star Wars characters. And Star Wars, of course, has influenced so many artists, myself included. Just the design and the characters and the imagination and the epic romance of this battle a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away has just been such a seed that was planted in the creativity of many of us artists out there. And today, my guest is Dawn Murphy, and she has a similar story. Dawn is an artist who loves to work on portraits and costumes in her illustrations with a focus on pop culture. And Dawn has found a special niche in the Star Wars world. She has created numerous illustrations licensed officially for Lucasfilm and for Topps trading cards and many other clients. And so I'm so grateful that Dawn sat down for an interview. And here we go.
I'm Dawn Murphy, and I'm an independent artist. I've always really enjoyed costume and fashion illustration and portraiture, and my love of pop culture, especially Star Wars, has been with me since I was a little kid. So I like to focus on those things and have, in the past decade, I guess, really focused on trying to get my art out into a larger audience and started to sell my art and do commissions for people. And I find a lot of joy in creating something for somebody and knowing that they have it in their house and it gives them a smile every day. That's a great gift. So yeah, I've just been drawing since, wow, before I could write. As soon as I could pick up a writing utensil, I was drawing. And my mom is a great artist. So I had that growing up. I was exposed to painting and drawing and just watching her and learning from her. So something I've been exposed to my whole life.
Oh, that's awesome. Was she a professional artist?
No, she was never professional, but she would sell her paintings back then in the 70s and 80s. There were a lot of local, they were called boutiques, where local craftspeople would come and sell their wares. And she would sell a lot of paintings that way. And she would have commissions from people as well. So I got a little taste of that when I was a kid. Just watching her success was really inspiring.
That's
And
really
we
cool.
have
So what a
paintings of
wonderful,
hers all over the houses. So
oh, that's awesome. What a wonderful way to grow up, with that around you. So it sounds like creativity and drawing and painting in particular was really supported.
yeah, and sewing, a lot of sewing, just always making things, always having that creative outlet to just try anything. I would have crazy ideas as a kid where I want to make this dress for my Barbie. She's like, okay, go for it. Do you want me to show you how? No, I'll figure it out myself. And of course, I would fail. And then she would be there. It's like, okay, why don't you try it this way? And so there was always that encouragement and that safe space to just try to experiment, fail, but then figure it out. And yeah, I always take that with me with everything that I do. So, hey, mom.
Yeah, I mean that's a powerful system to go, hey, do you want help with that? And then you said no. And you're like, I'm going to go
Mhm.
do it. And then of course, when you're little, right, or even when
Yeah,
you're
spot
not
five.
little, it might not go well. And
Yeah.
then you had her as a safety net, and she would show you,
Hmm.
and then you'd have a success. So it was this. I mean, because that's what creativity is, right? It's well, and that's any learning and any
Right.
application of learning and experience is there's a misstep that you learn from and grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things I took from it as I went through school and college and art classes was not to be afraid when I would draw. And I remember having an instructor watch me drawing one time in college, and I hadn't thought of it before, but she said, you have no fear when you draw. And I thought, well, why would I? What is there to be afraid of? And I guess there are moments where during the creative process, you might stop and think, well, if I make this line this way, it might be wrong, or I don't want to ruin the paper. But for me, I like to find that flow where you're just not really thinking about what you're doing and you're not worried about making mistakes. Sometimes you do really mess up, and that's okay. You just start again. But yeah, I try not to be afraid. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah,
Hopefully that
that's
comes through in the work, but I know it's interesting too because the more artists I know and the more we talk about how we create and what our approaches are, there are some artists I find who are very technical in how they plan everything out and how they're going to do it and how they do studies and practices. I'm kind of the opposite where I just go for it. And if it feels right, great. If it doesn't, let's try something else. If this color doesn't look right, let's do this other color. I don't really plan things out too much. So I don't think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I think you just do it and see what comes out. Sometimes it works really great that way. Sometimes it
right.
doesn't.
Right. It all depends, right? What you're going for, or what your practice is. I was talking to a muralist recently, and went now I come out of a commercial background, but before that I airbrush t-shirts.
Okay,
And
so there you're just going for
so
it.
it's like, let's go for it and do it. So
Yeah.
there was a wonderful, I mean, there's a parameter around it, but you're doing it. It's like you go do it. And now when I do large scale murals for a client, I there's a lot at stake between
True.
expectations, and at least it feels like that to me. And so I want us to all be on the same page. So I'm a little
Right.
more particular about it as far as the steps go, so that we have a map. But I don't think there's a right way. I agree with you. It depends on the client and the outcome, right? Or
Yeah, and that's definitely true. I think when I am doing commissions for clients, I'm very cognizant of creating something that they're going to like. And I do involve them in every stage. I'll show them the roughest drawings, and sometimes they want to see it all, sometimes they don't. They're just like, oh, just do whatever you want and surprise me. Like, okay, I hope you like it. But for the ones who do want to be involved in the creative process, I enjoy that too. And
yeah,
I'll show them every step along the way before we commit to the final drawing and the final inks. And I enjoy that as well. So you do, like you said, it depends on your project, because with the mural, you do have to plan it out in advance of how you're going to do it. So yeah, I think my natural state of being is to not plan so much. So that's my
yeah.
process. But
I prefer that. Just I like the conceptual aspect of things to begin with. There's a little more freedom, right? Yeah.
yeah. And I
So
always tend to like the rough sketches and the concept drawings. That's my favorite part of it anyway. I
yeah,
usually tend to like those pieces better than finished pieces. I like seeing the creativity on the paper.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool, because I know I'll get to a point in a project where I get past the fun stuff, right? That
Mhm.
part, and now it's the work. You just got to spend the
Yeah,
time finishing.
that's true. Then it becomes the work. It's like, okay, now I have to actually make this real. Now it gets hard.
So how you had the stuff going on with mom at home, and very encouraging, and you're drawing and painting, and then you're making costumes or fashion.
Mhm.
So you're into the 3D world a bit.
Mhm.
And when did you, and maybe you didn't make this decision before college, but when did you decide that that was the career you wanted to go after?
When I went to college, my my goal was to get a degree in fashion design. So I did actually start in a fashion design program. And over the course of a couple of years, I realized that my favorite part of fashion design was the designing part, was the drawing part, the illustrating part, not so much the technical pattern drafting and constructing the garment part. That's where I got all the math and all of that is where I got frustrated. So I actually changed my major after 2 years to art history and went through that whole program and got my degree in art history. Because I love art. I love learning about history of art and how learning about a culture's art, you get to learn everything about that culture. It really does tell you everything about a people, their beliefs, their food, their clothes, their way of life. So that was always really interesting to me. And then after college, I really art became sort of on the side. It was kind of sidelined. Real life kind of took over and getting a job and paying rent and, all the things that come along with adulthood took over. And it wasn't until, I always drew, but I never did it professionally. But when my son was born, after he started school, I suddenly had some free time on my hands. I'm gonna really start drawing again. That's my first love. And in the last decade, I've really just concentrated on that. And I started an Etsy shop and started doing things online and going to local conventions. And it's really become what I do every day. I don't necessarily make a living off of it, but it's my work, it's my passion. And I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to have time to concentrate on it. So yeah, it's been a long journey to get to the point where I am now with a lot of sideways things I didn't expect. But it's just a privilege to be able to share your art with the world. And the internet is a big part of that. It really opened up the doors for everybody to share their art. So I think when the time was right for me to put it out there, I just said, you know what, I'm going to put it out there. So here we are.
So how did that feel, hitting that button?
Scary. It was scary. But I have a really close friend from childhood who is also, she's a poet. So she's very creative. And she told me once when I was telling her, it's really scary to put your art out there. You don't know how people are going to react to it, if they're going to like it, or people are going to be mean. She said, you're an artist. You have, and this has always stuck with me. She said, artists have a responsibility to share their art with the world. There might be some people who don't like it, but for every person that you reach who does, it was worth it. So that always stuck with me. And it made me feel like, what is the point of creating all this art and then just putting it in my closet and not showing anybody? So put it out there and you will find your people, or they will find you, your audience. And once you find your audience, it's so rewarding. It's a wonderful feeling, even if it's just 2 people or if it's a whole lot of people. So it's been a learning experience every day, and I'm grateful for it.
So how did you find that audience? Was it you talked about pop culture meshing with your style and what you do. Tell me about that.
When the internet first came around and I found myself looking for Star Wars people to connect with, there was an old
Where
website.
on earth would you find Star Wars people? They're so few and far between.
So few and far between. I don't know if you remember, but in the prequel era, so late 90s, early 2000s, there was a very popular, and it's still around, a very popular message board called theforce.net and the Jedi Council forums. And it was really, really a lively place full of Star Wars fans from all over the world. And I became really involved in the costuming and props division of it. And I actually met my best friend in the whole world there. And I have a huge circle of friends from that time and from that forum. And we all still keep in touch. And our love for Star Wars and costumes is what brought us all together. And when I started to switch over from making 3D costumes that we wore at conventions and online and everything, I started to focus on drawing more. Kind of already had like a built-in group of Star Wars fans who already knew me for my costuming. So that was like the jumping off point. So I knew that I had people and friends who were going to appreciate what I was doing, or hopefully appreciate what I was doing. And I think joining Instagram, though it's not easy, that is where I really started to get exposure from other people in the Star Wars community and in the pop culture community to find my work. So I try not to fall into the trap of trying to get the likes and trying to get the follows, because that just feels like you're on a hamster wheel and you're never going to get off. I just try to let it happen organically. So it's still growing. It's a slow process, but I feel like I do have an audience who appreciates what I do. And I also want to touch on something that another artist said. When you are creating art to share online or to try and get exposure, to not just focus on what you think people want to see, draw what you want to see, draw what you want to draw, and the people who like it will find it, hopefully. So I think that's important. I don't want to be that artist who's just constantly posting everything, posting something new once a day that I think people want to see, because that's not authentic to who I am or what I'm wanting to express or share. So I really, really want it to just happen on its own and for people to enjoy what I'm doing. And those are the right people then, right? If the people who like what you're doing, that's who you want to be reaching.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I know if ever I have thought about doing that or tried to do that, I'm working in the past.
Right.
When I'm trying to get people to maybe like what I'm working on. All I can judge it off is based on what's been successful in the past, and that's just a sinking ship. I'm not interested, or maybe it's like it's going to the horse races with yesterday's paper and betting on the old stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're never going to be able to please everybody, so don't try.
Right. Yeah, what a great point. So how you love Star Wars. Where did that start?
My goodness. When I was 6 years old, Star Wars, so you can age me. When I was 6 years old, A New Hope came out, and it was not on my radar. I was 6 years old. I didn't know what was going on. My mom took my sister and I to the movies one night, right like a few days after it had come out. But we didn't go there to see Star Wars. We went there to go see another animated film. And when we came out of the theater, it must have been close to 10 o'clock at night, which was really late for a 6-year-old to be out. But it was summer and we were just living free. And we saw this huge line of people just lined up. I grew up in San Jose, California. So we were at one of the big theaters there. And the line, this is when you couldn't buy, tickets beforehand. You had to go and stand in line for your ticket. So the line snaked all the way through the lobby and out the door and through the parking lot. We never seen anything like that. So as we were making our way back to the car, my mom just stopped and asked someone, "What are you guys in line for?" And they just in a chorus were like, "Star Wars." And she was like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's this great new movie. It's in space and blah, blah, blah." And I'm just starry-eyed. It's 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what's going on. There's all this excitement. And my mom so unexpectedly turns to my sister and I, and she says, "You want to see it?"
Wow.
And we're like, "Yeah." We no clue what it is. Just none. So we got in line. And maybe an hour later, we were sitting in the theater. And I'm kind of tired. I'm 6 years old. As soon as the lights went down and that music blared and it said Star Wars and that ship came on the screen, I don't think I blinked until it was over. I was just, that was it. That was it. So ever since that moment, it has been a constant love in my life. So.
Yeah. What a spark, right?
It was such a creative spark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing Princess Leia was like a revelation as well. Because up until that point, as a small girl, most of what I saw represented were Disney princesses, which I love, but I didn't see myself reflected back in that so much. And then you saw Princess Leia, and there was this, sort of round-faced young girl with brown hair, like me, very chubby face, brown hair. And it was like, whoa, not only is she beautiful. She's smart. She can take care of herself. She can fight against the bad guys. And she's a princess. I mean, what else could you want? What else? So yeah, that was a big spark moment. I've
Oh,
loved her
that's
ever since.
fantastic. Yeah, and a courageous leader, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing that represented up there was just, it was everything. Yeah.
And that was 1977. So that was
1977.
pretty early on for that kind of an archetype character. Or maybe a
Yeah.
character who would become an archetype, right? Maybe because she
Right.
trailblazed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I know George Lucas made those films primarily for kids, but the way he took old human mythology and old human stories and emotions and repackaged them in a modern way that I think society at that time was ready to accept in a sci-fi environment, in a technological environment. It was just so smart and so visionary. I have endless respect for that man's storytelling ability, just endless.
Yeah. Yeah,
And his
agreed.
also his way of telling stories is very visual. He's a visual storyteller. And for me, that's how I learn, that's how I experience the world. I'm a visual learner. So his movies and his style is it's just constant. It's like watching art be alive to me. I just love it. And
Yeah.
I love the prequels. I've loved them since the first day they came out. The art direction, the design, the colors, everything about them. I'm just in awe every time I watch them, and I've seen them who knows how many times. They're beautiful.
Yeah. They're luscious,
Oh,
right?
yes, that's a great word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And deep. And, I was thinking about how, because if you saw it, maybe especially as a child, because childhood memories are funny, right? Like it's almost like they're kind of in the mist a little bit and in the fog
Mm-hmm.
because you're little and you don't necessarily know what to remember or take from a moment. But I can hear the music just like you say, when the logo popped up, bah, right, you jump out of your
Right.
seat because you don't know the
Right.
first time. And then there's the crawl, and then after that there's the ship, or I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
planet, right? All
Right.
the stars, the star field. They created a new star field effect just for the movie so that the stars weren't just like holes in a blanket. And
Mm-hmm.
so now you're in some more realism and you hit that planet and you're like, whoa, okay. And then that ship comes in, the first ship, and then the giant ship,
Yeah.
right? It's like, whoa, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it really is. It really was.
And there was something about it that just it's like it pulls on a strand of your heart between the music and the visuals and then the power of the story. It's a
Mm-hmm.
wild thing.
Yeah, I feel like we're lucky that we lived in the time to get to experience it.
Yeah. And I didn't feel lucky at the time thinking, I mean, we didn't even know that there was another one coming out,
Oh
remember?
no, right,
And
right.
then 3 years go by,
Yeah, I don't think he planned on making another one until he saw that it was successful.
right? Because he wouldn't have been able to,
Right.
right? It just wouldn't have happened. And then when the talk started, and we were not, media was different for us growing up too,
So
because
different.
it was not, it was, I almost feel like we're living in Minority Report, right? Where they just get a flash of your eye. That's coming, right? And it's like,
It's
it
just
tells you what's going
constant.
on.
The information's constant. It's almost too much. Yeah.
Yeah. And when Empire came out 3 years later, I remember sitting in the theater and it was the scene where Yoda was lifting the X-Wing and the music started to swell. And the only thought I had as I was 9 or 10,
Like
I guess I
9 or
was
10.
9. Yeah, the only thought I had was, oh no, it's going to end.
Oh,
This is the end. Like the music is swelling, and
right.
thankfully it didn't, right? But
Right.
that's how precious it was
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Star Wars is your main focus, is that right, for your work?
It is. Yeah, it has become that. Talking about loving to drawing what you love, that's always my first love. If I'm needing to warm up, do some kind of warm up drawing. Always it goes to, well, I'll draw Princess Leia. Oh, I'll draw Padme. Oh, I'll draw, a Rancor or something. It's always in the front of my mind. And it's to the point where, it's almost like there's a memory there where I don't always need a reference. I can just kind of draw from memory at this point because it's been so ubiquitous in my life. But yeah, it is. And when I started trying to get my work out there more, one of my goals that I always wanted to do was to draw sketch cards for Topps trading card, because when I was a kid, the Star Wars trading cards, I mean, I still have them all, and it was a huge thing that you did with your friends and trying to collect them all and trying to save your allowance money to buy that pack at the store when you were there with your mom, and like, Mom, I only need one more card, I have to buy this whole pack. And no, you can't spend all your money on these cards. But like you said, media was different, so I would get the trading cards and lay them out on the floor in chronological order, and that's how I would watch the movie. Right? It was just looking.
Oh,
at the
that's so
trading cards.
cool.
And I'm like, don't anybody step on my cards. Be careful. They're in order. And so I think it was in the early 2000s when sketch cards were introduced by Topps. They would hire artists to just do really quick pencil sketches for their Star Wars sets. And I remember getting my hands on a few of them and thinking, oh, I want to do this. How do I do this? I will never be able to do this. And a few years ago, I got to do it. So it's amazing. It's a dream come true to actually get hired to draw Star Wars.
So how did that come about?
How did that come about? A lot of perseverance, a lot of hard work, a lot of disappointment until finally getting the invitation, because they invite artists to work on sets. It's not like you're an employee. So it's an invitation only to each set. And what I found is that you really have to get your art in front of them and say, hey, I would like to be invited on a set. If you think that I would ever be a good fit for anything, keep me in mind. And I found online an application for Topps sketch artists. So I think I filled that out maybe 3 times. Talking to other artists, I met an artist who was kind enough to give me an email address for the art director at Topps. And because I had asked him, I said, how do you get this gig? Do you have to know somebody who says, hey, contact this person? And he's like, yeah, that's how it happens. You have to know someone. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know anybody, so I guess that's out the window. And I walked away. And then a few hours later, he came back over to my table. It was at a small library convention. He's like, here's the email address for the art director. Send him examples of your work. Tell him you're interested and just see what happens. And so I did that. And that art director actually moved on to somewhere else. So I never even heard from that art director. I don't even know if he ever saw my work. But about a month later, I did get my first invite to work on a set. So I really don't know how I got it. I don't know if it was from the online applications I sent directly to Topps or if it was from that email. I have no idea. But I said yes. And I think I've worked on either 11 or 12 sets by
That's
now.
That's awesome. So, hey, take a second, 1 second. I want to point this out to the audience. I know how you got that. You were intentional. There was something you wanted, and you started to talk to people about it. And at some point, your words landed on the ear of somebody who had some kind of connection, and it created an opportunity for you to start to get your work in front of the right people. Because you asked questions, you got educated about what you needed to do, and then you started doing it. And chance meets opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
And that's fantastic. I love that. I love that you did that. I love that you didn't just go back to your table without talking to that person. And then I love that you made enough of an impression on him that he came back to you with a little bit of gold, right?
Yeah.
Here's the email of the person you want to talk to.
Yeah, it felt like winning the lottery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
so cool. So how does the process work, if you can talk about it, with Topps?
Sure. like I said, they invite, I don't know how many, it seems like maybe between 50 to 60 artists to work on a set. And there are general guidelines that they give us. If the set is focused on, the first set I worked on was the women of Star Wars. So obviously we can only draw women characters. And they have certain guidelines, you know, no nudity, no words, just certain things, no special edition. For some reason, we're not allowed to draw special edition characters, or no characters from this particular TV show or that. But it's very much open to whatever you kind of want to do. And they send you the blank cards. And if you sign up for 30 cards, they send you 30 cards. You don't get extras. There's no room for messing up. So that's where it gets a little scary the first few sets, because I'm going to draw 30 things perfectly right in a row. Really?
What size are the cards?
They are, I actually have some
Is it the
examples
actual
here.
size of a Topps card?
Yeah.
1
Here,
to 1?
I have some examples I can show you from a set that is coming out later this month, Masterworks. But yeah, they are the regular size. They're 3.5 by 2.5 inches. So they're small. These are Masterworks, so they're on a really nice, I don't know if you can see, a thick cardstock.
It's like 1/16 of an inch or something, huh?
These are the best cards to draw for them.
Yeah.
But usually they're the same thickness as a regular trading card. So here's
So
another
they're
one.
literally sketched then,
Paragraph.
right? It's like somebody couldn't do a digital.
No,
It's got to be sketched.
you are drawing right straight onto
Yeah.
the blank card and painting right onto the blank card. So if you mess up, you got to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And how to fix it. And you know, the cards all, once you send them back, have to go through an approval process with somebody at Lucasfilm, and they can reject cards. If you really mess up on a card, you can kind of like say, oh, that one's never going to make it through. The ironic thing, though, is that those are the ones that usually pop up on eBay a few months later, and you're like, oh, great. Why? Because now everybody who's like seeing that my name's on it, they're like, oh, is she really? No. But they don't tell you which cards get rejected, so you don't know. You don't know, and it's fun watching them pop up. I belong to a couple of collectors groups of card collectors who post what they find and trade and sell and all these things. So it's fun to see your cards pop up here and there, get posted on Instagram or Twitter. People will reach out and say, hey, I found your card. It's great. I love it. Thanks. So yeah, it's really a great community that I didn't even know existed until I became a part of it. Like, wow, this is great. These people are really dedicated to their collection, and they really enjoy the sketch work, the artwork from the artists. And it's been a great experience. I love doing it. So when they do invite you, you can commit to anywhere from 30 to 100 cards. Sometimes your deadline is a couple of weeks. Sometimes it's a couple of months. It's always, you never know what you're going to get. But it has been a great exercise in just my artistic growth. Because if you have 3 weeks to do 45 cards, all in color, all good enough to, you know, pass Lucasfilm's inspection, you hope, and to go out into the public, you have to get fast and you have to get confident, and you have to, like I said, not be afraid. So it's been, I've seen like a real leveling up of my ability to produce artwork faster that I'm actually happy with. Because I remember before I got the job with Topps, I would do, you heard of Inktober? I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I would do Inktober every year, and I would do 1 card a day. And I would think, oh, I'm really killing it. I'm doing 1 card a day. I'm smashing it. 30 cards in a month. Wow. Now I'm like, oh, I have 2 weeks to do 30 cards. Let's do it. And you do it. And you do it.
That's 3 cards a day, right? That you have to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not, and then I think for every 10 cards you do get 1 artist proof card that you get to keep to sell on your own. So that's what these are. These are my artist proofs that I can then sell to collectors on my own. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I must have done 50 cards for the set. So, and you have to have those done too, because they have to go through the approval process as well. So it can be quite the commitment, but I love every second of it. I get to draw Star Wars. I mean, who gets to do
Yeah.
that? I mean, that's great. I love it.
Well, and then you make prints to sell, right? And is it primarily through your Etsy shop?
Yes, it's primarily through my Etsy shop. I've done quite a few costume illustrations. I love costume design, and the costumes and the prequels, my favorites. They are my favorites. Padme's wardrobe is my favorite. That's an endless treasure trove of inspiration. I love the details. And having come from a background where I've created quite a few costume replicas over the years, I know the amount of detail that goes into those costumes. I've also seen them on display several times. My best friend and I, we joke, when the costumes go on tour to different museums around the country, we kind of follow it around like the Grateful Dead or like costume deadheads or whatever you want to call us. And we will go see it. We'll travel to different cities around the countries to go see the exhibit. We just love the artistry involved. It takes a lot to make a garment and to do the tailoring and the embroidery and the beading and all those little details that you don't really notice on screen, or you only see them for a brief moment, but they're all there. They're real, they're made, and that's all artistry. That's all artists who spent time, and it's just something I appreciate so much. So I love drawing. I love drawing the details, all the details, all the details, every bead, every stitch, every sequin. Just get in there and do it all. So yeah, that's one of my loves. And I got to, because I was doing tops and that's considered licensed work, I got to qualify to submit artwork to the Star Wars Celebration Art Show the last time around. And that was always one of my goals. I've been going to Star Wars Celebration since the very first one in 1999. It was in Denver, Colorado. It was an experience. And I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to a lot of the conventions over the years. And I always saw the artists in the art show, and I was like, oh, wow, that would be such a wonderful experience to be able to do that. And that was always one of my top goals, was to just to be able to submit to it. So the last show was scheduled for 2019, but then, oh no, it was scheduled for 2020, but it all went online because
something happened.
Something happened.
Yeah.
So they didn't hold it in person, but they still had it online. And I submitted a piece of artwork and I got accepted, and I was blown away. What a privilege. What an honor. So it was online, and I did costume illustrations of Queen Amidala's wardrobe from The Phantom Menace. And I can talk about it now, but I actually did a follow-up, which is going to be in this year's Celebration Art Show, which is her Attack of the Clones wardrobe. So it's turning into a little series here, which I hope I get to see to fruition with the third one. We'll see what happens. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. The convention is set to be in person on Memorial Day weekend in Anaheim. So I'm good to go. As long as they hold it, I'll be there.
You know, what I love about all this too is the niche aspect of it. Like your focus is, and I haven't seen the breadth of your work. I've seen a lot of your work, but you've spoken a lot about the female characters of Star Wars, the costumes, and that's kind of your niche. Not that you can't do other things, but that's where you're focused. And then for tops, I imagine what they love about that is you've done a series, a bunch of series, right? But after the first series, I'm sure they went, oh, that's cool, that's collectible. Let's do it again. Let's put a different one, and so it just builds. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Once you jam your foot into the door, it's then work to keep it in there, right? But once you get your foot in the door, it's opportunities come.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to just try to know what you're after, to know what your goal is, and then to just try to go for it. And that's that's what I did. So
do you have?
Now I get to go to Celebration.
Do you have
so excited.
other designs on different clients, or is your focus specifically on tops and what you're doing with tops, or are you branching out?
Right now, I've just been doing licensed work in the Star Wars sandbox. I would like to branch out as opportunities might come along. But this past year in what year are we in now? We're in 2022.
Yeah.
2021 it was just tops nonstop. I think I did 7 sets for them last year. So it was just one after another. And
How many pieces of art is that?
oh my goodness. If I'm doing probably between 30 and 55 cards for each set. I mean, it's hundreds at this point. It's a lot. So last year I really just focused on that. And I didn't really have much time for a lot of other things. And this year I am trying to get back into doing more commissions for people. I'm working on a few commissions, private commissions. And I love doing that as well. So, but the things that I get asked to create are mostly Star Wars related. So I'm kind of in that orbit right now, and I love it. So I'm not complaining.
That's
I'm
awesome.
happy to stay in it as long as people want to see it.
So would you say then your income stream is tops licensing, private commissions, and then prints on Etsy?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
nice.
I was, before the world kind of went sideways, I was starting to do a lot of local conventions around the area, a lot of the library conventions, which I know you have some experience with.
I had done a couple. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
did we talk about the one, or did we meet at the one
I don't know.
in Lockport?
I think we talked about it. I think I
Hmm.
saw you there, but we hadn't actually been
Yeah.
introduced yet. But yeah, those are great. I was really enjoying going to those, and then everything kind of got put on hold, and then things are starting to come back online now. So I'm hoping to start doing those more as well.
By the way, that's a good thing to point out too, is that the library shows, uh, there's a little bit of a cost, right? But it's free to the public. So there's a
Right.
cost for exhibitors.
Right.
As far as unless they're all different, right? Which may be the case,
They're all
but
different. Some of them didn't charge me anything. It was just, please come and be a part of our show. And
because a lot of libraries will have, well, I guess I'm mixing two things. I know that there are libraries who will have like a Star Wars day, or they'll
right.
have a Harry Potter day, maybe. But this one that we're talking about was kind of a Comic-Con-ish
Right. It was
thing,
great. Yeah. Had
and
everything.
and so whatever library you were at, whether they charged you or not, where you met the one, or was it a con? It was a
It
library con,
was.
I thought you
It
said,
was a
right?
library con. I forget exactly where it was. And the focus on that one was Batman. They actually had the Batmobile parked outside of the front of the library. But it was everything. It wasn't just Star Wars. It was like a Comic
Yeah.
Con. I can't
They
remember.
did it in Lockport. They had the Batmobile at Lockport.
It was really neat to see it.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking it was the Michael Keaton Batman, right?
I I
Was
think
that
so.
Batmobile? Yeah.
I think so.
But I guess my point about all of this is don't underestimate where you're going to meet people. Like, it's
Absolutely.
crazy where you can meet people.
Yeah, I've met so many great people at just, the local little conventions,
Yeah,
artists that I didn't know lived in the area and that I'm in contact with now. So
yeah,
it's a great opportunity to meet other creatives and to meet just people. I love when people come up and talk to me, about anything,
yeah,
whether it's my art and you talk about something on your table and it leads to something else. It's a great experience. So I can't wait
yeah.
to get back out there and do more. And I would like to, at some point try to do some of the bigger conventions. But that's it. I always want to have something else to work towards.
Yeah.
You're never done. It's not like you reach a goal and then there's nothing else to go for. So just always keep something on the horizon to work toward.
All right, Dawn, that is awesome stuff. Thank you so much for being my guest. And usually as we kind of come toward the end of an episode, I ask what advice you might have for artists who want to do what it is you do.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for having me on. I guess my advice would be to persevere, to try and meet people. Don't be shy about getting your artwork out in front of people. Don't be shy about posting it online. It can be daunting at first, but the overall experience I've had has been positive reactions, and the people who enjoy your art will be excited to let you know. And uh, it's not something to be afraid of. I think don't be afraid and practice every day. Draw as much as you can, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if you don't like what you drew. Doing it over and over again, you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your talent, and it will pay off. And I think if you can get out into whatever genre you're interested in, if it's comic cons, if it's, Star Wars things, if it's other just pop culture things, if it's comic books, try to go to any kind of convention or comic book day and talk to people, talk to other people who are there, and don't be afraid to let them know that you're interested in being a part of the industry. It's you never know who you're going to meet or who you're going to come across, who's going to be that bridge for you or to help you get an opportunity that you've been looking for. But the number one thing I think is to know that you are your own best advocate and your own best marketer. If you want to look at it from a business perspective, you know what you do, you know what you're good at. So just try to put it out there. Don't be afraid to say, here's what I do and here's what I would love to do.
That's great, 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 super great advice. Like I want to yell everything you just said because it's all so important and so foundational to an artist's success in a business sense of the world. So
great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Great talking to you.
Where can people find you, Dawn?
I am primarily posting my artwork on Instagram. So I'm Dawn Murphy Art at Instagram. And I have an Etsy shop, which is also Dawn Murphy Art. And I'm also on TeePublic. I'm Gray Dawn on TeePublic. I like cloudy gray mornings, so take that for what you will. So I have some fun designs on TeePublic that have been up there for a while, so people are free to look around. So,
awesome.
Yeah, that's mostly where I'm at. That's mostly where you can find me.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. You rock.
Thank you so much. You too.
Hey, Dawn, thank you so much for being my guest. I love your story about waiting in line as a little girl to go see Star Wars, to go see that late, late show that you were exhausted to go see. And your mom was adventurous enough to bring you and your sister to it. And then I just love the story, too, about and it's a sweeping story, right? Because it wasn't just a day or a week. It was over the course of your childhood and I'm sure your young adulthood that your mom was so supportive of you and encouraged you and helped you. And, Dawn, you have this light in you that is determined to create. You have a desire to create. And it's a bit like having a bulldozer at your beck and call where you kind of push your way through things to grow and to become better at what it is that you do. And then when opportunities arise, you're ready to take advantage of them. And that's exactly what you did, Dawn. And I love that you got your work in front of the right person at Tops, and then they weren't there anymore, but somebody else got your information. And because you put it out there, it fell into the right hands. And now you find yourself in quite a sweet position in your career. So I'm very excited for you. I encourage my audience to follow Dawn. Go find her on Instagram. Go find her Etsy shop. And reach out to her as well if you want to purchase anything or you have any questions for her. What an incredible guest. Thank you again, Dawn. You rock. So on behalf of the Breakthrough Creative, that's our episode for today. I want you to get busy about the business of doing whatever that next thing is that you need to do to grow your business. Maybe it's some kind of admin thing. Maybe you need to learn something about math. Maybe you need to go buy some blue pencils from the art store, because that's what it's going to take for you to do that next thing that's going to get you to that next thing in your business. Whether you are not a professional yet and you're looking to land that very first paid job, or you are a professional and you're just looking to grow your business, I wish you the very, very best. Have a great week. Cheers.